Everyone to please silence their cell phones and be very present here with us right here, right now. And as we continue this 19-year-old tradition of our past presidents marching with the Sifrei Torah, or Torah scrolls, into the congregation, I invite you to please rise and stay in your seats. The scrolls will be coming down the center aisle. I will ask those who are on the edges, please, to greet the Torah, perhaps with a little touchless way of greeting. Please don't reach out and touch the Torah, but we are grateful to welcome our past presidents, led by Debbie Stevens, into our congregation. Standing at the foot of our bima are the men and women who have led Shirami and Temple Shalom for the past generations. Tonight is actually the 10th anniversary since Shirami and Temple Shalom merged, and how wonderful it is to have presidents from both congregations holding Sifrei Torah, representing this blend of two extraordinary communities. Each of these fine leaders have led us through different periods within our congregation's history, from the very beginning to the middle days to more recent days, and each one serves with distinction and continues to do so. And friends, we are very grateful for their leadership, and so grateful that we are able to continue this tradition, which has been such an integral part of Kol Nidrei for the last 19 years, that we're able to continue it right back here in the Abraham Swerdlow Sanctuary tonight. So for our past presidents, I thank you for your service. Those who are holding Sifrei Torah, you may take a seat in the front row or wherever your name is marked. And all of our other presidents, you may return to your seats, and thank you. Everyone else may be seated. Friends, it is wonderful to be able to gather in person. Having spoken to a number of my colleagues throughout the country, it seems like more of them are preaching and leading from empty sanctuaries. The fact that we're able to come back here and be safe and healthy is a great blessing for us. So I first thank all of you for, number one, being patient and understanding, for continuing to wear masks. We know that probably the overwhelming majority of people in our congregation tonight are vaccinated. However, wearing masks just provides that other level of protection, and we are very grateful. So thank you for keeping the masks on all throughout. And a very special welcome to all of you who are joining on our live stream. We hope that you have found a comfortable place and that you will be able to go through this journey with us from home. For those who are on the live stream, all of the pages that we will be sharing from our Machzor will be printed on your screen as well. So you won't necessarily need to have your own Machzor, However, if you would like to download a flip book of the Machzor, just go to www.ccarpress.org. That's www.ccarpress.org. And you can download a flip book, and you can then make your way through the Machzor on your own. As we continue on page 9, another wonderful tradition as well is to invite two extraordinary people, leaders of our congregation as well, to kindle the Yom Tov lights. I'd like to invite Karen Briskin and Susan Strom, who will lead us in the blessing. Page 9.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu lahadlik ner shel Yom Tov, Yom HaKippurim.
Thanks.
Source of blessing, eternal our God, you fill the universe with majestic might, teaching us holiness through sacred obligations, giving us the mitzvah of bringing light on Yom Kippur. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam shehecheyanu v'kimanu v'hegianu lazman hazeh. Source of blessing, eternal our God, you fill the universe with majestic might, giving us life, upholding the life within us, and bringing us to this time.
At the top of page 17. In its emphasis on humility, Kol Nidrei provides a corrective to the toxic certainties of polarized discourse. What if we approached each other with the humility to recognize that our most confident convictions will always be qualified by the limits of our own knowledge and understanding? In its haunting melody and strangely legalistic language, we begin to sense the twilight truth. Our high horses too often stumble, and our soapboxes stand on shaky ground. Kol Nidrei grants us the gift of sacred uncertainty, the chance to begin this new year with a sense of what we do not know, rather than a narrow certainty about what we do. It's what Buddhists call beginner's mind. What if every time I were ready to proclaim some self-evident truth, I allowed Kol Nidrei to whisper in my ear, "Says who?" on the previous page. Let's join together in the middle of page 16. With one voice, assembled sages past and present declare, all may pray as one on this night of repentance. Let none be excluded from our community of prayer. With one voice, God and congregation proclaim, all may pray as one on this day of return. Let all find a place in this sacred assembly. Last year, we were still fortunate to have Jason Calloway play Kol Nidrei on a recording, but that does not replace having him live with us. Now, in his 30th year, if we did the counting right, Jason Calloway, a child of this congregation, renowned cellist, who has been lifting our souls and our spirits with his playing and his interpretation of Kol Nidrei. I invite Jason to come to the bima. Just exquisite. Thank you, Jason. This time I'd like to invite the members of our board of directors to come forward and to take the Sefer Torah from the president and all other board members who are not holding Sefer Torah. You can find your way to stand on the floor or one step up. Those who are holding Sefer Torah, please come to the top step. On page 19, as they gather their Sefer Torah, I invite everyone to please stand as well. On page 19, let our speech be pure and our promises sincere. Let our spoken words, every vow and every oath be honest and well-intentioned. Let our words cause no pain, bring no harm, and never lead to shame, distrust, or fear. And if, after honest effort, we are unable to fulfill a promise, a vow, an oath, may we be released from its obligation and forgiven for our failure. Let our speech be pure and our promises sincere.
Kol Nidrei Vesarei Bacharamei Vekonamei Vechinuyei Vekinusei Ushavut Din Dana Udeish Tebana Udeacharimna Beda Sana Nafshatana Miyom Kippurim Zeh Ad Yom Kippurim Haba Aleinu Netova Kulhan Yicharadna Vehon Kulhan Yehon Sheran Shvikin Shevitin Betelin Umevutalin Masheriri Ayamin Nidrana La Nidrei Be'esarana La Esare Ushavuatana Mashivu
On page 20, All shall be forgiven, the entire community of Israel, and the stranger who lives in their midst, for all have gone astray in error. Moses prayed to God, as you have been faithful to this people ever since Egypt, please forgive their failings now, in keeping with your boundless love. V'sham ne'amar, v'yomer Adonai salachti kidvarecha, and God responded, I forgive as you have asked.
Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, shehecheyanu v'kimanu v'higianu lazman hazeh. Shehecheyanu v'kimanu v'higianu lazman hazeh.
Praise be our God, ruler of the universe. Praise be our God, forgiving us life, sustaining us, and bringing us to
Praise be our God, ruler of the universe. Praise be our God, ruler of the world, for giving us life, and sustaining us, and for enabling us to reach this day. Shehecheyanu v'kimanu v'higianu lazman hazeh. Shehecheyanu v'kimanu v'higianu lazman hazeh.
Page 22. Continue on page 25. Donna and Bob, please.
Day and night are yours, creative spirit of the universe, the muted colors of twilight, the radiance of dawn. Yours are the spreading wings of light, the deepening shadows of darkness, and ever-changing drama. In the human heart, too, the struggle between darkness and light unfolds. From sunlit heights of generosity, the human heart sinks to the gloomy depths of selfishness. Although we fall, you give us the strength to rise again. You call on those who hurt through word or deed to break free from wrongdoing and return to you. All who hear your call to goodness are embraced. All who reject emptiness and evil find acceptance from you.
We come into your presence this night of Kol Nidrei, aware that our shortcomings and weaknesses are many. Yet encouraged by your promise of forgiveness, we choose freely the path of repentance, restoring wholeness to our lives and holiness to the world. Baruch atah Adonai hama'ariv aradim. Love beyond all space and time. Your love enfolds your people, Yisrael. You receive it in your teaching, your gift of Torah, sacred obligations, discipline, and law. So let us speak these teachings when we lie down and rise up, and find joy forever in your Torah and mitzvot. They are the very essence of our life, ours to ponder and study all our days. May we never lose or be unworthy of your love. Baruch atah Adonai, Ohev Amo Yisrael.
Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad, Baruch Shem, Kivod Malchuto, Le'olam Avad.
Please be seated. It's my pleasure to invite Bella Holtzman and Sammy Leon to lead us in Via Hafta. We are on page 30. Page 30.
V'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha b'chol levavcha uv'chol nafshecha uv'chol me'odecha v'hayu hadvarim ha'ele asher anochi mitzavecha hayom alevavecha Vishinantam levaneha, vidibarta bam, vishivteha beveteha, uvlecha vadere, ushabecha uvkumeha, ushartam leot ayadeha, vehayu letotafot beineneha, uvtabtam. Amezuzot beiteha, uvishareha, leman tizkeru, va'asitem, et kol mitzvotai, v'hitem kedoshim lelohehem. Ani Adonai Elohehem, asher hotzeiti ethem, me'eretz Mitzrayim, Le'yot lahem le'elohim, ani Adonai Elohehem.
Thank you, Sammy. Thank you, Bella. Continue on page 38. Steve Ginsburg.
Truth and faith, these are fundamental to our existence. God alone is their source, and we are Israel, a people of God. Our sovereign saves us from tyranny, redeems us from its violence through countless wonders, from its brutality through great feats beyond measure. We are Israel, a people of God, the giver of life who would not let our feet give way, the maker of miracles for us against Pharaoh, of signs and portents in the land of Egypt, the one who brought our people Israel from its midst to enduring freedom. Witnesses to this heroic might, the people thanked and praised God by name, freely accepting the reign of heaven. Then Moses and Miriam and all Israel sang to you this song of utter joy.
Mi chamocha ma'elim Adonai, mi kamocha neder b'kodesh, lo tehilot oseh peh, malchutecha ra'u vanecha, bokei hayam mipnei Moshe u'Miriam, Adonai et Yaakov ugelo miyad chazak mimenu Baruch atah Adonai Goy Yisrael.
On page 46, let's join together. Have mercy upon me, O God, as befits your faithfulness. In keeping with your abundant compassion, blot out my transgressions. Wash me thoroughly of my iniquity and purify me of my sin. For I recognize my transgressions and am ever conscious of my sin. We continue now with the tefillah. I invite you to please rise on your feet or in your heart, whichever is most comfortable.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu Elohei Avotenu v'Imatenu Elohei Abraham Elohei Yitzchak Elohei Yaakov Elohei Sarah Elohei Rivka Elohei Rachel Elohei Leah Ha'el Hagadol Hagibor v'Hanara El Elyon Gomel Chasadim Tovim V'Konei Hakol D'Zocher Chasdei Avot Ve'imahot U'Mevi Gehula Libnei V'neihem למען שמו באהבה. זוכרנו לחיים, זוכרנו לחיים, מלך חפץ בחיים, וכותבנו בספר החיים, למענך אלוהים חיים. מלך עוזר ומושיע ומגן, ברוך אתה אדוני, מגן אברהם בעזרת שרה. אתה גיבור לעולם אדוני, מחיי הכל אתה רב להושיע, מוריד הטל. מחכה חיים בחסד, מחיי הכל ברחמים רבים, סומך נופלים ברופא חולים, ומתיר אסורים, ומקיים אמונתו לשני עפר. מי כמוך בעל גבורות, ומיתו מלך, מלך ממיד ומחיה, ומצמיח ישוע. מי כמוך אל הרחמים, זוכה יצוריו לחיים ברחמים. ונאמן אתה להחיות הכל, ברוך אתה אדוני מחיי הכל.
Continue on page 66. Eloheinu ve'Elohei avotenu ve'imotenu mechal la'avnotenu b'yom ha'kippurim hazeh. Our God and God of our forebears, pardon our failings on this day of atonement. Erase our misdeeds, see beyond our defiance. For Isaiah said in your name, it is I alone who wipe away your defiant acts. This is my essence. I shall pay no heed to your errors. And the prophet said, as a cloud fades away, as mist dissolves into air, so your wrongs and mistakes shall be gone. I will wipe them away. Come back to me that I may redeem you. As you said to Moses, for on this day of atonement shall be made for you to purify you from all your wrongs, and pure you shall be in the presence of Adonai. God who is ours and God of our fathers and mothers, lead us to holiness through your mitzvot, and may each of us find a portion of Torah that is ours. You bestow such goodness, teach us to be satisfied and to know the joy of your salvation. Help us to serve you truly with purity of heart, for you are the forgiver of Israel. In every generation, granting pardon to the tribes of Yeshurun, we have no God of forgiveness and pardon but you alone. You are blessed, Adonai, sovereign who forgives our failings and pardons the failings of your people, the house of Israel. You banish our guilt from year to year. You reign in majesty over all the earth. You sanctify the people and the day of atonement. Continue on page 81. Last winter, when days were short and COVID continued to make life difficult, I discovered a perfect elixir to help take the edge off and put a smile on my face. It's not a cocktail, but rather a brilliant television comedy called Ted Lasso, about a constantly upbeat American college football coach from Kansas who was hired to manage a professional British soccer team. For quickly, show of hands, how many people have watched the show? All right, good. Good, okay. Never know. Now, despite Ted Lasso's outward displays of carefree happiness, he is troubled. The team's sports psychologist, Dr. Fieldstone, sees something in Ted that others don't, including Ted himself. She asks him repeatedly, "Ted, would you like to make an appointment?" "No, thanks, Doc, I'm good," he always replies. "I just don't trust therapists." This usually upbeat program ended on a dark note recently. After being overcome by a panic attack in the middle of a critical game, Ted left the field. He hid in Dr. Fieldstone's office and curled up on her couch. When Dr. Fieldstone found Ted there and asked if everything was all right, he looked up at her, troubled and desperate, and quietly said, "Doc, I'd like to make an appointment." I'd like to make an appointment. I've spoken these words before. Have you? Admitting to yourself that you're not quite right, and then making that phone call is difficult and scary. To acknowledge that we are in pain and that coping day to day is becoming harder requires us to be courageous and vulnerable. Judaism has many practices that enable us to plumb the depths of our souls as we work to become more whole in our relationships with God, with others, and with ourselves. We do many of these practices on Yom Kippur. We pray to God. We make amends with those we've hurt. We think about the ways we haven't lived up to our full potential. We reflect on the past and prepare for the future. Yom Kippur expects us to remove our masks that conceal our real selves. And this requires us to be honest and courageous, and yes, vulnerable. Yom Kippur serves as our annual mental health diagnostic exam, which we perform on ourselves. Now, for some, this is enough, but others need more. It may be the beginning of a journey that begins by saying, "Doc, I'd like to make an appointment." Many renowned figures in our tradition have struggled. Some have turned away from God, others have turned to God. Jonah, whose story is often told on Yom Kippur afternoon, was angry at God because of the prophetic mission that God called him to do. God told him to speak to the wicked people of Nineveh and tell them to change their ways. He tried to run away from God. He wanted God to take his life. But eventually, he returned to God and fulfilled his mission. Others, when in pain and struggling, have turned to God. Hannah, who we read about on Rosh Hashanah, was infertile, and her sister wife taunted her. When she went into the temple and prayed to God for a child, her lips moved, but words did not fall from her mouth. Eli the priest accused her of being drunk. She wasn't drunk. Rather, she was pouring her heart out to God. Once Eli realized this, he told her to go in peace and prayed that God would grant her request. She became pregnant, and her child Samuel became a great leader of Israel. Moses was angry about the sin of his people when they made the golden calf. He was ready to quit as he was fed up with their incessant complaints. Moses struggled with his people throughout his time as their leader, but he always turned to God for support. And Rabbi Nachman of Bratslav, who is known for finding joy in prayer and in the simple experiences of daily living, struggled with oftentimes chronic and debilitating depression for much of his life. These examples all have one common feature. Jonah, Hannah, Moses, and Nachman struggled alone. They didn't have friends or confidants. They didn't have a therapist. They had God, and that helped, but ultimately they were isolated and alone, mired in their own darkness. I believe that most of us find ourselves in a dark place at some point in our lives. In those times, do you keep your feelings to yourself or do you reach out to others? Do you pray to God? Lean on your friends? Sometimes our friends are very helpful. Other times we find someone who has been in a similar situation and helps us find our way out. Oftentimes we'll reach out to our closest friends first. They truly get us, we hope. Rabbi Nachman of Bratslav shared this story. One day, two friends were talking to one another. "Do you love me?" says one to the other. "Of course I do," he replied. "So tell me, what hurts me?" the first friend asked. "How do I know what hurts you?" he replied, to which the first one responded, "If you don't know what hurts me, how can you say you love me?" Rabbi Nachman shared this story to help us understand what true relationships require. Again, courage, honesty, vulnerability. When a close friend asks, "How are you?" and you respond, "I'm fine," your truest friends will know when you're not being honest. And these days, most of us would be hard-pressed to honestly say, "I'm fine." How can we be fine? Pain, strife, conflict remain pervasive. Many feel empty, exhausted, defeated. Like the analogy of the shofar I taught last week, many of us feel hardened on the outside and empty on the inside. Last year, during an interview, Michelle Obama shared that she was dealing with a persistent low-grade depression. Quarantine, racial strife, and the political situation were contributing factors. Outwardly, she appears to have it all. But she is just like one-third of Americans who have reported experiencing symptoms of depression and anxiety in the past 18 months. We may confide in our closest friends or family, and sometimes this isn't enough. We have to find the strength and courage to seek out help from a professional. We have to pick up the phone and say, "Doc, I'd like to make an appointment." The first time I made that call was 20 years ago, midway through my 5th and final year of rabbinical school. I was unhappy, uncertain, irritable, and anxious. I couldn't see the brightness of the future that lay ahead of me. I only saw clouds. Experiencing a crisis of faith and confidence was not where I expected to be finding myself several months before I was to be ordained as a rabbi. My academic advisor referred me to a therapist, a rabbi herself, and over the course of a few months, she helped me greatly improve my outlook and get me to a more stable place. She helped me restore confidence in myself and the passion for my work as I made the transition from student to rabbi. Now, a therapist is only part of the equation. We need to do the hard work ourselves to get us to a better place. We rely on our innermost circle to support us and love us unconditionally as we work to restore our mental health and our overall well-being. I'm fortunate to have Karen and a few trusted friends and colleagues who are there for me when I need them. I'm also fortunate to have a therapist to help me manage and process the challenges of this time. And after many years, I've learned that taking care of my mind and spirit is just as important as taking care of my body. My meditation practice, therapy, and cycling as much as possible are the pillars of my self-care regimen. When I maintain all of them, I'm at my best. And when we take care of ourselves, bodies, minds, spirits, souls, we can all be at our best. Yet for many of us, taking care of ourselves is challenging, especially in these days. We lack energy and motivation. We have a persistent case of the blahs. It has been longer for the past 18 months because our mental health continues to take a beating. We all have our worries and our stressors, finding work-life balance, managing our home budgets, worrying about our children or our aging parents, or both, concerns about the health of our marriages, increasing tensions within society, and diminishing civility within our community. Each weighs heavily on us. Sometimes it's hard to arise each day just to begin the day. And once awake, we eat more, exercise less, and find it hard to get things done. We struggle. And that is precisely why, on this day of introspection and truth-telling, I'm speaking about the need to take care of our own mental health and work to improve the collective mental health of our community. Too many in our community struggle mightily, and often alone. We are failing as a synagogue community if Shir Mi, of all places, is not a safe place to express our troubles and concerns. Yom Kippur is about being honest, real, and vulnerable. We come into this sacred space to live by these values. Yom Kippur expects us to account for our personal and communal choices and to confront our struggles. Rabbi Nachman of Bratslav, again, once taught, struggle with your sadness, struggle with your soul. The point is not to rid yourself of struggle, but to accept it as a condition of being human. Rabbi Nachman is saying that these feelings are part of who we are. We can't rid ourselves of these facets of our lives. Rather, we need to create space for them and do our best to contain and manage what lives within us. There's nothing to be ashamed of, no reason to hide. We need to feel comfortable talking openly about our mental health and how we're feeling. We need to feel comfortable reaching out to friends, loved ones, me, the other clergy, to ask for help. You need to know that you are not alone and that there are people within this safe space who can help you. Yom Kippur is a hard day. Tomorrow may not be any easier. We will continue to struggle, but we can do so honestly, openly, and courageously, knowing that we don't have to struggle alone. I've missed the last couple episodes of Ted Lasso, so I'm not sure if his work with Dr. Fieldstone is working yet. I hope it does because I, like all of the show's fans, are rooting for him. I hope as well that you can make the call. Reach out to your friends, meet with me, pray to God. I hope you can find ways to take care of your body, mind, and spirit. Our health depends on it, our community depends on it, because we are all in this together, and I am rooting for you. Ken Yehi Ratzon. Continue on page 83. I'd like to invite Eve Lefkowitz to lead us in this reading.
When I was young and learned the alphabet, life was open to me. A was full of aspiration. B was for beauty, C for confidence, and D for dreams. And so on through the list, no fewer than 26 opportunities, 26 possibilities. And yet I fear that with the passage of time, I've squandered them, creating instead A's of apathy, B's of brusqueness, and C's of coarseness. Help me then to return to that innocence. Let the letters be letters once again, and let them rise to the heavens and form into the words that you know I wish to say.
On the previous page, 82, let's join together in the middle of the page. Our God and God of all generations, may our prayers reach your presence. And when we turn to you, do not be indifferent. Adonai, we are arrogant and stubborn, claiming to be blameless and free of sin. In truth, we have stumbled and strayed. We have done wrong. Throughout Yom Kippur, we'll share sometimes the Vidui Zuta, the short confession, and sometimes the Vidui Rabbah, the long confession. Tonight we'll share Vidui Rabbah beginning on page 86. And we'll say this in a combination of the Hebrew introduction and then the English that follows. And we'll join together. You can follow the pattern. Al chet shechatanu lefanecha, the ways we have wronged you deliberately and by mistake, and harm we have caused in your world through the words of our mouths. Al chet shechatanu lefanecha, the ways we have wronged you by hardening our hearts, and harm we have caused in your world through careless speech. Al chet shechatanu lefanecha, the ways we have wronged you through lies and deceit, and harm we have caused in your world through gossip and rumor. Al chet shechatanu lefanecha, the ways we have wronged you by judging others unfairly, and harm we have caused in your world through disrespect to parents and teachers. Al chet shechatanu lefanecha, the ways we have wronged you through insincere apologies, and harm we have caused in your world by mistreating a friend or neighbor. Al chet shechatanu lefanecha, the ways we have wronged you through violence and abuse, and harm we have caused in your world through dishonesty and business. V'al kulam Eloah slichot, slach lanu, mechal lanu, kaper lanu. For all these failures of judgment and will, God of forgiveness, pardon us, and lead us to atonement. Al chet shechatanu lefanecha, the ways we have wronged you openly and secretly, and harm we have caused in your world by losing self-control. Al chet shechatanu lefanecha, the ways we have wronged you through sexual immorality, and harm we have caused in your world through consumption of food and drink. Al chet shechatanu lefanecha, the ways we have wronged you by giving in to our hostile impulses, and harm we have caused in your world through greed and exploitation. Al chet shechatanu lefanecha, the ways we have wronged you through cynicism and scorn, and harm we have caused in your world through arrogant behavior. Al chet shechatanu lefanecha, the ways we have wronged you by hating without cause, and harm we have caused in your world through offensive speech. Al chet shechatanu lefanecha, the ways we have wronged you with a slanderous tongue, and harm we have caused in your world through a selfish or petty spirit. V'al kulam Eloah slichot, slach lanu, mechal lanu, kaper lanu. For all these failures of judgment and will, God of forgiveness, forgive us, pardon us, lead us to atonement. We'll take a few moments to pray silently through page 95. For those who are watching on the screen, I believe that some of the prayers will scroll by so you can share some of those reflections as well. Page 107. Let's read responsively. We are insolent, but you are compassionate and gracious. We persist in doing wrong, but you are the essence of mercy. Your years never ending.
Adonai, Adonai,
on page 112. Please rise on your feet or in your heart for Avinu Malkeinu. Avinu Malkeinu, illumine for us the path of our life. Avinu Malkeinu, how shall we find the strength to take the road less traveled by? Avinu Malkeinu, how shall we come to know the purpose of our existence? Avinu Malkeinu, how shall we learn not to live life in vain? Avinu Malkeinu, how shall we get out of our indifference? Avinu Malkeinu, how shall we distinguish between truth and falsehood? Avinu Malkeinu, how shall we find the answers to our questions? Avinu Malkeinu, how shall we gird ourselves with strength to seek answers? Avinu Malkeinu, be gracious to us, answer us, empower us, and give us courage, for the answers are both in you and with you.
Avinu Malkeinu, Avinu Malkeinu, Avinu Malkeinu, Hanenu v'hanenu, ki ein manu masih. Aseh imanu, tzedakah v'chesed. Aseh imanu, tzedakah v'chesed, ve'hoshienu. Avinu Malkeinu, Avinu Malkeinu, Avinu Malkeinu, Hanenu v'hanenu, ki ein manu masih.
It's my pleasure to invite Ellie Short, president of our congregation, to share a few announcements. And a quick note for those at home, our next slide, David, will be slide 67 after Ellie's done.
Shana Tova to all of you here and also those of you watching online. Thank you, Rabbi Briskin. Thank you for your message about the need to take care of our own mental health. Thank you, Cantor, for sharing your beautiful voice with us. Thank you to our choir. Thank you, Rini Perlstein. And thank you, our accompanist, Eric Schnitzer, for making beautiful music for us. And how wonderful was it to have Jason Calloway back with us to play the cello in person. It was also fortunate that we were able to have so many past presidents join in the procession so we could honor our past leaders. And thank you to Becky Markowitz and Debbie Stevens for organizing this. I'd also like to thank our ritual committee, chaired by Debbie Rosenthal and Michael Smolin, for ensuring our services run smoothly. And also big thanks to our Sheer Open Task Force, chaired by John Stevens, to enable us to meet safely here today. I also want to acknowledge the tireless work of our staff here at Sheer Me, of our executive director, Phil Norlinger, the office staff, Jody Friedman, Jody Levinson, Julie Hirsch-Gordon, Rabbi Eric Goldberg, our religious school director, Fern Levy, our Shafty youth director. I'd also like to acknowledge Sherry Beck Naiman, Cheryl Primo, and our ELC, and all of our incredibly dedicated teaching staff that we have here. Many thanks to our custodian, Shanika and her crew, security, and also I want to just briefly mention the many, many volunteers that we do so much here at Share Me. Donna DeSantis and her grocery crew who help us earn more money at Share Me when you support us by getting grocery cards, and they deliver the cards right to our house. Our food bank volunteers, chaired by Mark Luber, Barbara Cohen, Marilyn Halpern, and all of our many helpers who've been helping sort and label the food. I can't recognize all of you, but again, your efforts are much appreciated at Share Me. So tomorrow's Yom Kippur service. Young children's service is at 9 a.m., outdoors at Newtown Middle School. Adult services are here at 10:30. You must have already pre-registered in order to join us. Otherwise, please join us on live stream. Our afternoon learning sessions will be addressing our 4 pillars. It will be on Zoom, not live stream, and you could get that link by shareme.org. Starting at 12:30, we will be learning together. Led by Rabbi Briskin, there will be a Torah study discussion. 1:30 is Making an Impact. Join Janice Bader, Andy Lusbin, Arthur Krause, Rabbi Briskin to explore ways we can become advocates for social justice. At 2:20, we will be addressing spiritual growth. Join Steve Ginsburg and Rabbi Briskin for a guided mindfulness meditation. 3 o'clock is Connecting Together. Hear stories from some of our congregants about lessons learned during the pandemic. We'll be hearing from Sherry Cohen, Stephanie Clark, Glenn Firestone, Andy Salzman, and Nancy Sideritz. There's also, again, our interactive hands-on family experience at 1:30 at Share Me. It's supposed to be outdoors back at the sanctuary parking lot, weather permitting. Otherwise, it will have to be moving inside, and you will be notified about that. That will be led by Rabbi Goldberg, Cantor Kolbrenner, Fern Levy, and our Teen Shafty volunteers. 4:30, we'll begin Yisker and Nila services. If you didn't get all that, it's on the website. Just check it all out. I'm not going to repeat it. The sanctuary will be available and the ark doors open for those of you who just want to sit and reflect quietly here tomorrow. Just a few more announcements. Still time to support our High Holidays food drive. Our goal is to collect 10,000 pounds. I think we've gotten about 3,500 so far, so we have a lot of ways to go. Drop off your donations anytime until the big food distribution day of Monday, October 4th, and monetary contributions are also welcome. We need volunteers to help build the new sukkah this Sunday, 9 o'clock. Please come and help. Speaking of Sukkot, Saturday, September 25th is the Sukkah Crawl. Visit one of all the Sukkot some of our members are building. You would register at shareme.org. Finally, look for information about our lifelong learning programs. This year, there's a wide variety of programs. The information is available on our website. You can also pick up a hard copy in the office. On behalf of the Board of Directors, I wish you all a healthy, happy New Year. Thank you.
Thank you, Ellie. And as you can hear, we have just so many wonderful activities happening both in person and remotely and hybrid. We're really looking to start off a great year. Just one additional note about tomorrow. In addition to the sanctuary being open between the morning and the afternoon service, or Yisker, if you are going to be here in the morning and you prefer to spend the day here, you can participate, if you'd like, in our learning sessions. We're going to have the chapel open, a TV in there with the Zoom link. You can kind of come in there and participate in the chapel. Just come and go as you'd like, but know that if you want to stick around, you are welcome to do so. It's really for those who are registered for the morning and for the afternoon as well. Our concluding prayers begin on page 117, with Aleinu. Again, this is the newer version, adapted to reflect different time, different theology, one that is more universal and inclusive. The words also follow the original melody and cadence as well. I invite you to please rise on your feet or in your heart.
Amheinu leshabeach ladon hakol, latekedu laliotze bereshit, shehu asanu leshomrei hadama, והוא שמנו לשליחי התורה, שהוא שם חיינו איתם, וגורלנו עם כל העולם. ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים הקדוש ברוך הוא. ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד ושמו אחד.
On page 121. This holy night concludes with memory. Our last thoughts always are of those we have lost. We miss them especially tonight, yearning for their presence at our side. The service we have shared once was theirs. They spoke and sang the ancient words. They prayed, repented, and yearned for better lives as we have done. Flawed in their deeds and perfect in their faith, they still drew strength from their tradition as we seek fortitude in ours. What was good and beautiful in their lives once gave us joy and now inspires us to reach higher. The knowledge that they loved us deeply brings comfort to our hearts. So we light candles of remembrance and gratitude, and we speak this timeless truth. Zichronam livracha. Their memory is a blessing now and forever. We pray that their goodness will live on in our lives, planting seeds of kindness and hope for generations to come. On the next page, we join together in reciting Mourner's Kaddish together. Yitgadal v'yitkadash shemei rabbah, be'alma divrach hirutei v'yamlich malchutei, b'chayechon v'yomechon, uv'chayei d'chol beit Yisrael, ba'agala v'zman kari v'imru amen. Yehei shmei rabbah mivrarach le'olam ulamei almaya, yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh, v'yithadar v'yitalev v'yithalal shemei d'kudashah brichu, le'ela ule'ela mikol birchata v'shirata, tush bechata v'nechemata, da'amiran b'alma v'imru amen. Yehei shlama rabba min shemaya, v'chayim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. Oseh shalom b'mromav, hu ya'aseh shalom, aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'al kol yoshvei tevel v'imru amen. May the source of peace bestow peace on all who mourn, and may we be a source of comfort to all who are bereaved. Amen.
Oseh shalom b'mromav, hu ya'aseh shalom, aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'yimeru amen.
Yehi ratzon milfanecha Adonai Eloheinu ve'Elohei avotenu ve'imotenu, shetichadesh aleinu shana tova umituka. Our God and God of our ancestors, eternal God of all generations, may your presence in our lives this new year renew our spirits and renew our strength. May it be a good year, may it be a sweet year. L'shana tova tikatevu v'techatemu. May you be inscribed and sealed for a good year. Som Kal, have an easy or a meaningful fast. An easy, meaningful fast.